Well, back to normal classes today. Did everyone get a chance to look at Bright Thinker to see the assignments for today?
Yeah.
We've got a new history unit on the 13 colonies starting today. How many of you feel like you know a lot about the 13 colonies already? Arjun is moving close to the first one in Virginia, because North Carolina is very close to Virginia.
You know Concord, right? That was where they stashed the weapons.
In the Revolutionary War?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I lived there instead of Charlotte.
Mm-hmm. And in science, you guys learned about, just a moment, the skeletal system. Say hi, Mr. Bones.
Hi, Mr. Bones. Hello, Mr.
Hi, Mr. Bonehead.
His jaw fell out of place in the early class. And
Hi,
so
Mr. Skullbones.
Poor Mr.
Hi, Mr.
Bones.
Bonehead. Hi, Mr.
Hi,
Scully.
Mr. Bonehead. Hi, Mr. Bonehead.
So you guys learned about the skeletal system. If you've watched that video already, what are some of the reasons that we need our bones? What are some of the purposes? Do you guys remember some of them? Netra?
To protect your organs and to help you keep shape.
Good. Gives your body shape, protects your organs, and helps with movement because your muscles wrapped around those bones. Back to the 13 colonies for a moment. Do you all remember, if you've watched that video already, some of the reasons why people went to the colonies from England? What were some of the reasons? Arima?
Some of them like went there because of religious reasons, or they wanted to get rich, or they just went there for prison stuff.
Mm-hmm. Some of them wanted to get rich off of the farmland, or maybe they thought, I'll get some gold over there. There are some prisoners. Had you ever heard that before? Wasn't it Eric the Red who was similar to that? He was banished.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Arima said, some people went for religious reasons too. And in Farmer Boy, you guys heard about the early harvest. What was haying time like for Almanzo and his family? Saisanab?
It was great.
Yeah, what was fun about it?
Yeah, you know, his that he had eggnog after, and then he did something to not waste it. And and the funny part is, one drip, his mother said would spoil something, and then one drip. How am I supposed to not drip a pail?
That's a very good point. Yeah. So imagine I've got a cup here with a little bit of coffee. Imagine it's filled to the brim. And Almanzo, being a nice guy, right? He was like, I don't want to spill any. I don't want to waste. So I'm just going to take some extra for myself. Now, maybe that did help him not to spill any, but what was the real reason he was doing that, Krish?
He was really doing it. Then after every eggnog is filled in the bucket, he could eat all of it.
He just wanted to drink more eggnog. Have any of you ever had eggnog before? Yeah, I don't really care for it, but it is a common drink at Christmas time, especially. And if you go into Walmart near the milk, they would have eggnog as like a separate drink, or people can make it with milk and eggs and sugar. So you're drinking raw eggs somewhat in eggnog. I know that sounds probably quite gross. And there's a bunch of sugar too. So it's really, really rich and creamy. Krish?
Like Almanzo had fun because he gets to eat eggnogs, and he actually I think Almanzo was kind of happy when the butter buyer came.
Yes, I think he was. Can you believe that she's got the best butter in the whole state? Way to go. That's pretty impressive. Arima?
Like it's about like the 13 colonies.
Uh-huh.
Like once America got independence, the English would send their prisoners to Australia instead. And is Maryland a southern state or a northern state?
Oh, it looks like Saisanov knows the answer. Go ahead, Saisanov.
They're like what do you say? The New England states.
Very good. It was one of the New England colonies, that's right. No, it was called a southern
Maryland.
colony, even though I wouldn't really call it a southern state. I'll show you that
Yeah,
picture
like,
from before.
It was because I thought it was a northern colony at first because like Washington D.C. was like placed between Maryland and Virginia, like
You're
to
right.
not like keep it in
So
the
that it-
northern or southern states.
Yeah, excellent point with that, Arima. So this is just the way they separated the colonies, but it doesn't actually have anything to do with the way that we divide the states now. And it also doesn't relate completely with the Civil War separation. So yeah, Maryland is technically the furthest north of the southern colonies. And some of the reasons that they separate that is that we can focus on like that each of those regions had better different land. So Maryland still had the good rich farmland, and it had some of the opportunities for cash crops, like a lot of different crops. So that's the main reason. It doesn't mean that it's actually part of the South. Yes, Arjun?
And about the eggnog thing, about the butter, after sold it for after he sold it for $200. I mean, that's even expensive now.
I
And
agree.
It's easy to believe it's the best in like maybe even the continent. Like maybe she could compete.
Yeah, I think so. If I would imagine New York would have some of the best butter, and so that makes it some of the best in the whole country, maybe at the time.
But now probably like people don't make such as good butter because they just because everybody just gets store-bought butter. But like I think back then people usually probably made better butter than they make butter now.
Oh, that's a tongue twister. Okay, well, let's get started on our Pledge of Allegiance and school motto today. Shatish, would you like to lead us?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor. I'll honor good things, effort, true and beautiful. Respect. I'll show respect to others at all times. Service. I'll do good things for others without being asked. Excellence. I'll strive for excellence in all things. Perseverance. I will fill commitment and not give up or act on discouragement.
Thank you, Shatish. Please join me for a moment of silence, boys and girls. Okay, boys and girls, well, let's start on some phonogram and spelling review. Good morning, Darshika. Please take out your whiteboard and marker, everybody. And I'm going to send a reminder to Adarsh. He's the only one still missing now. I'm going to move you guys over a little bit just to get some time to stand. Okay, for our first phonogram, would you all please write the? Rashi, would you please turn your camera on? Excellent. Rihanna, would you unmute yourself and say this phonogram for us? The second one is like that. Good, you got it. Next up, please write the phonogram sh, used at the beginning of a word, at the end of a syllable, but not at the beginning of syllables after the first one, except for the ending ship. Devansh, could you say that phonogram for us? What do we call it?
Used at the beginning of a word, at the end of a syllable, but not at the beginning of most syllables after the first one, except for the ending ship.
Way to go, Devansh. Arjun, can you say it for us too?
Used at the beginning of a word, at the end of a syllable, except not
at the beginning of syllables after the first one.
Except for the ending ship.
You got it. Next up, let's write wh. Used at the beginning of question words. Wh. Wh. Sai, could you unmute yourself and say that one for us?
Cool.
Oh, actually, it's not qua. It does sound like it. Qua. Do you hear that one?
Cool.
Good. Everyone, please write qua. Qua. Not qua, but qua. Maybe I confused you by saying it's at the beginning of question words. I mean, like why, when, where. Should look like this. All right, next up, please write the phonogram. Here it is. Okay, that is all of the phonograms for today. Let's move on to some words. Now, this is a short week for us because Monday and Tuesday, we didn't have any normal spelling. So we're not going to have as much time for reviewing before the test this week. You might want to do a little review after class. You can look at your orthography notebook or your binder and see those words. And in our review time, I'm going to focus on just the harder ones. Okay? Let's begin with privilege. Would you all write privilege? We say privilege, we think to spell privilege. Hold it up when you're done, please, with privilege. Rihanna, I don't know if you're doing that, but it keeps unmuting and muting, going back and forth. Privilege should look like this. What can be kind of tricky is to remember it's I in this one. Privilege. It ends up being silent. We usually say privilege, and we drop that I. Okay, next one, let's do embarrass. This one has 2 double consonants. Do you remember that? Embarrass. Should look like this. Next up, let's do syndicate. We also pronounce this one as syndicate, depending on how it's used in a sentence, but syndicate is the thing to spell. And it's one proper way to write it, or spell it, or sorry, pronounce it as well. Syndicate. Darshika?
Miss Ghana, will we do chandelier?
Not today. No. That's probably a good one to review tomorrow, though. Next up, and here's syndicate. Next, please write the word mischief and mischievous. We think to spell mischief and mischievous. Yes, Dysonoff?
In syndicate, why do we put a thinking cap? The A is saying the regular A sound, right?
You're right. Sorry, I was thinking of syndicate, the other way of saying it.
Oh.
But when we pronounce it syndicate, we don't need a thinking cap. You're right. Nethra, you also keep unmuting for some reason. I'm not sure if you're touching something on your computer, but just a heads up.
I'm not touching anything. It's probably me accidentally putting my
Putting it on the keyboard. Okay. Try to avoid that if you can. Here's mischief and mischievous. Check that yours match mine. Okay, and that's all of the spelling review for today. After you're done with that, you can erase your board. What was that?
I was just saying hello, Mr. Bones.
No, I had him keep you company as I went to get something to erase with. You guys ready for a new spelling lesson? Let's take out our binder and pencil and get ready for it. Just one moment. Unless somebody just randomly got it from me, I wasn't expecting that. Sorry, I've checked with other people and it's possible that somebody just dropped it off, but that's never happened for me. Yeah, right. It happened with like a coffee.
Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones, what's the first spelling word?
Bonehead.
He doesn't even know. He can't talk.
The first word is skullhead.
No, it's a bonehead or scully.
Oh. Don't offend me. That's not my name. Okay, sorry about that.
Let's
Somebody
see
was
if
asking
Mr.
me if I
Bones
had
also
ordered
has a
lunch, and I
British
had not. Let's get our binder out. We're going to move away from Mr. Bones. Say bye, Mr. Bones.
Bye, Mr. Bones with a British accent.
Hi,
Bye.
Mr. Bones or
Bye,
Mr.
Mr.
Bonehead.
Bones.
Bye, Mr. Skullbone.
Bye, Mr. Bonehead.
Goodbye, children. It was nice seeing you today. Okay, let's move on over here. Our real first word today is an animal very similar to a turtle. Anybody know what it is? Tricia?
Tortoise?
Correct. Tortoise. A tortoise is very similar to a turtle. It's a reptile that has a bumpier shell and in the water less. But a tortoise, have you all seen tortoises before? You probably are thinking of like the tortoise and the hare with that one too. Okay, now we think to spell this one in a kind of unusual way. Does anybody know what we think to spell for this? Arima?
We think to spell tortoise.
That's right, tortoise. The ending of it looks like it would rhyme with noise. Tortoise, noise. So let's think of it as tortoise. Sound it out with me. Tortoise, 2 syllables. In the first syllable, it's t or, 2 sounds, t or. Next syllable, t, oi, s, 3 sounds. Chris, just a minute, say it with me. T, oi, s, 3 sounds. We're going to use oi that we do not use at the end of English words. And a silent finally, job number 5. That's right, the S rule. Please pick up your pencil and write tortoise. Hold it up when you're done. T or syllable break. oi, s. Silent final E. Tortoise. Devansh, would you mark it for us?
Okay, and also could you move the paper a little bit up?
Say it again.
Could you move the paper up?
Like that?
Yeah. So or is underlined in the first syllable.
Very good.
And then in the second syllable, oi is underlined.
Good.
Then E, you double underline it and put a 5.
Very good. And we pronounce it tortoise. So what else?
Oi gets a thinking cap.
Yeah, perfect.
And it's a noun.
Correct. It's a noun. Okay. Check that yours matches mine. Our next word is parliament. Would you all say parliament? Who has heard this word before? Parliament. Arima, do you know what it is?
It's kind of like what people use for constitutional monarchies. It's basically like it kind of keeps the king or queen in control, like to make them not do everything they want.
Well said. Where have you heard that before?
The British Parliament.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the British Parliament is a good example of that. It is not confined just to England, but the British Parliament is kind of like the US Congress, and it is part of the governing body. Parliament. We think to spell this one parliament because there is a silent syllable in this word. A whole syllable that's silent. We think of it as parliament, but we say parliament. Can you say the thing to spell with me? Parliament. 4 syllables. First syllable, p, r, 2 sounds. Basic, or the R are the pirate phonogram. Next, e, 2 sounds. That's it, I-E. Parley. A is next. A is just an open syllable saying its name. And finally, parliament, is basic code. Pick up your pencil and write parliament. Yes, Krish?
Actually, one time in my backyard, there's a turtle. I don't know. We saw a tortoise. I don't know. Did it come from the water fountain? Because and then when my dad went to go pick it up, it just ran so fast. He couldn't pick it up.
Weird. Check, or please show me your spelling of parliament. Let's go over it. R, syllable break. E, syllable break. A, syllable break. And parliament. But we think to spell parliament. We say parliament. Darshika, would you like to mark it for us?
Yes, please. In the first syllable, we underline the R.
Perfect.
And do we put a 3 above the I?
You know what? I did that on accident with my first class, but we say parliament.
So maybe a
It
thinking
ends up being a thinking cap. That's right.
And do we have double underline the A?
Yep, perfect. And that's all.
Okay.
Because this is basic code. Parliament is a noun.
Mm-hmm. Miss Ghana,
Yes.
I have heard this word somewhere, but I just don't know the meaning of it.
Yeah, so once again, it's part of the British government, and it's there's a bunch of different parts of it, just like the U.S. Congress, which actually is going to be our next word, which is connected because of meaning, not because of its spelling. But the Parliament is basically, it like helps people follow through, like it represents all of the people who vote, like the Electoral College in America. And it also like comes up with specific laws as well. And I was going to look up anything else. Yeah, and just overseeing the government with hearings and inquiries. So it's part of like Supreme Court is kind of part of Parliament, but they have their own type of Supreme Court. So there's several different parts of Parliament, but it's for England and other countries that run similarly to England. Now, the next word we have is Congress. Now, Congress in America is the government body that a few different things are part of. How many of you have heard that word, Congress, before? So Congress includes the House of Representatives and the Senate, two different parts, which you're going to hear about once you're probably junior high or high school. So Congress is hundreds of different people who are part of the US government, all in really high positions. Can you all say Congress with me? Congress, 2 syllables. The first syllable, con, is basic code. Second syllable, congress, g-r-s, 4 sounds with a double z. Floss rule, congress. Pick up your pencil, please, and write Congress. Thank you all for showing it to me when you're done. Congress, let's check it. K-A-N, syllable break. G-R-S, Congress. Okay, so con is basic code. Over here, there's just one marking. Who knows what it is? Just one marking. Netra?
You double underline the S's.
Good. We're going to double underline the second S. When it's at the end of the word, the second one is silent. Arima?
Not all governments like work like really well because in like when Trump was elected, if it wasn't for the Electoral College, Hillary Clinton might have won because she got the majority of the vote, but sometimes like the Electoral College like doesn't kind of play fair.
That's a good point. Now, in that instance, it's as you're going to hear later on when you get to like government classes, the Electoral College is not the same as the majority of the people. It kind of depends on the state. But some people don't have that Electoral College. Sorry, boys and girls. Sometimes when I switch from the document camera to my camera, it cuts my video off. So I'm going to leave and come right back. Chris, were you having a little dance party? Okay, our last word today, boys and girls, is restaurant. Restaurant. How many of you enjoy going out to restaurants to eat? I would imagine that most of you eat most of your meals at home, and just on occasion you go to a restaurant. Does anybody want to share their favorite restaurant, if they have one? Rihanna, what's your favorite?
P.F. Chang's.
Oh, that's very yummy. I like that too. Krish, what's your favorite?
Actually, you know why it's called a restaurant? And why a lot of people like it? Because it's a resting place. You see, rest.
Good point.
Restaurant.
You are
Also,
able to rest anywhere.
My favorite is in the English restaurants. It's McDonald's.
Nice. Rashi, do you have a favorite restaurant?
Yes, it's Chipotle.
Chipotle. That's yummy. Yes.
I
Devon,
love
is
it.
that what you were going to say too? I like that too.
I love Chipotle.
Yeah, it's really
Nice.
yummy.
I
Ahana, we're talking about favorite
Levels.
restaurants. Sweetheart, you can't unmute. You're without permission. Because our next word is restaurant. Now, you've probably seen this in writing a lot, so you know that it's kind of unusual. Does anybody know how we think to spell this one? Tricia?
Restaurant.
Nope, good guess. That's not how we think to spell it, though. Anybody else know how we think to spell it?
And also, my favorite restaurant is Taco Bell.
Looks like Darshika and Saisanov agree. Krish, how do we think to spell it?
Restaurant.
No, not exactly. Good guess, though. Arima?
If you kind of like say it slowly, it sounds like rest or aunt.
Not quite either. That's the way we say it slowly if we're pronouncing it, but it's restaurant. Can you say that with me? Restaurant. So instead of restaurant, we say restaurant. We almost switch those two sounds. Do you hear that? Okay, sound it out slowly with me. Restaurant. 3 sounds, or the syllables, sorry. First syllable, s, is basic code. Next syllable, ah. We're going to use ah that we do not use at the end of English words. And finally, ant, 4 sounds, it's basic code. So this word again is restaurant. Great job sounding that out, Rashi. Everyone write restaurant. Great job, Tricia. Restaurant. Check that your spelling matches mine. Okay, for the second and third syllable, Krish, how do you think we mark it?
Is it okay if I erase because I put the R in the first and the second because it says restaurant.
It does kind of sound like that. I still want you to cross it out and rewrite it. It's good extra practice.
Okay, so first we underline the R that we do not use at the end of this syllable. End of the base word.
Mm-hmm.
And then you thinking cap the A.
Good. So, we don't need to underline this, but yeah, thinking cap the A and also thinking cap this. Because we say restaurant, we basically flip these sounds.
Okay.
Thank you, Krish. This is also a noun. Okay, now we're going to write these words in cursive. And for extra cursive practice today, we are going to be learning a new idiom. Here's tortoise, parliament, Congress, restaurant. I end up making it a 2-syllable words. That's acceptable to say restaurant. And then some people say restaurant. So just a heads up that some people cut it down to 2 syllables. Let me know when you're done with your words. Hold them up for me to see, please. Thank you. Okay. Keep writing them in cursive, but let's go through our new idiom for the week. Now, our new idiom is his bark is worse than his bite. Would you all say that? His bark is worse than his bite. Now, that probably makes you think of like a dog, right? And there are some dogs that have scary barks, but they're not actually mean. They wouldn't actually bite you. Do any of you know dogs like that, maybe in your neighborhood? Or maybe you personally have one like that. They kind of act like they're mean and scary, but they're not. Arjun?
I have a dog next.
Does it mean something like words can hurt more than actions?
Very good thought. Not exactly, but you're really close. Yeah, the barking is words. The bite is like your actions. But basically it's saying the words sound bad, but the actions are not actually that bad. Because there are some people who maybe sound really mean or really strict and harsh, but they're actually really nice. Kind of like Eliza Jane, actually. You guys remember how she would be so bossy and get on to Almanzo? But then when it came down to it, was she a good sister? She was. She covered for him. She patched up that wallpaper. So she may act kind of rude, but her bark is worse than her bite. Do any of you know people like that? And actually, Rashi, do you mind me calling you out? Samhita in my 830 class said that you were an example of this.
What?
She said that you might say things in like a sarcastic way, but you're actually really nice.
I'm not sarcastic.
Or maybe she didn't say sarcastic, but
She's the one who's supposed to be sarcastic, not me.
I think you both could be that a little bit, maybe.
Actually, for the correction, she's sarcastic. She's the only one who's sarcastic.
Okay,
my
okay.
life.
Take it up with her, Rashi. I just asked if she minded me saying it, and she said you guys talk about it all the time. So Rashi might act a little sarcastic, say some things, or Samhita, but when it comes down to it, they are good friends to each other, right? Just like Eliza Jane. Okay, let's write out his bark is worse than his bite. Can you write that in cursive? And then I'll show you how to write the words. But for now, just write his bark is worse than his bite. Okay, show me your idiom once you're done. His bark is worse than his bite. Shatish, did you finish? Can you show me your idiom? Very good.
I said I didn't complete it.
What did you say?
I didn't complete my idiom.
Okay, I should see you still writing. His bark is worse than his bite.
Miss Gardner?
Yes?
I thought it was his bark is worse than his bite, not his work.
Thank you. It is his bark. I think I was thinking of the word worse, and I was just combining bark and worse. Work. Worse and bark. Work. Thank you for catching that, Drishya. His bark is worse than his bite. Period. End of quotation marks.
You're welcome.
Okay, once you're done with that, we are going to start on some well-ordered language. So you can take out your well-ordered language book. Now, boys and girls, I ended up switching around the assignments for last week a little bit to give you some opportunity to practice for the writing test. So we are skipping over some pages in your workbook for today, and then we're going to get back to them tomorrow. So you might have even seen that in Bright Thinker, I have pages 144 and 144 through 146 to complete. Even though you haven't done 140 to 143, we're going to do those tomorrow. So we'll get back to that. I forgot that we didn't end up doing that Friday because of our writing assignment. So we should be on page 144 right now. Can you all open up to page 144 in your well-ordered language workbooks? To review, could somebody tell me what a preposition is? Think of our song, a preposition. What is it? Is what, Sai?
Is a part of speech.
What else? A preposition is a part of speech.
Used to show the relationship between certain words in a sentence.
Perfect, Sai. Well done. What is an object of the preposition? Remember, that's the one that goes, the object of the preposition. What is it, Krish?
I just sing the whole song. The object of the preposition. The object of the preposition is the noun or pronoun after the preposition.
Good job. What is a phrase? Do you guys remember this one? A phrase is what, Saisanov?
Is a group of words containing a subject. Wait.
I know this is kind of a tricky one. A phrase is a group of words behaving like
One part of speech.
good,
Not
not containing
a noun or pronoun.
a subject or a predicate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's okay. Let's try that one more time. A phrase is a group of words behaving like
one part of speech, not containing a subject or a predicate.
You got it. Great job, Saisanov. And who can tell me all 47 prepositions we've learned? Who knows all 47? Nethra?
Aboard, about, above, across, after, against, along, among, around. Preposition words. Before, behind, below, beneath, beside, between, beyond, at, by. Preposition words. Down, during, except for, from, inside, in, into, near. Preposition words. Of, off, on, out, outside, over. Past, since, through. Preposition words. Throughout, to, toward, under, up, until, upon, with, within, without, underneath. Preposition words, preposition words, preposition words.
Way to go, Nethra. That was great. Thank you. Okay, boys and girls, let's do this little learn it exercise next, where I want you to create a sentence thinking of 2 pets people keep. And you're going to make a sentence with those as the compound subject of your sentence. Ahana, can you think of 2 pets people keep and make a sentence out of them? Ahana, could you think of two, or actually you can choose a different one from the list if you'd like. Ahana? Can you hear me? Okay, unmute yourself, please, and make it into a sentence with those as the compound subjects. Are you unable to unmute yourself?
Ahana could type it in the chat.
That's a good call. Okay, I'll just open up the chat, and Ahana, you can do that. Rihanna, can you unmute yourself and tell one to us?
As what subject?
You can choose.
Raspberries and strawberries.
For the fruits you eat?
Yeah, and
Good.
the subject and the sentence says, raspberries and blueberries are the most horrible fruits in the world, even though I like to eat them every single day.
Okay, not sure I understand, but that is two fruits being used as compound subject. Thank you. Arjun, can you choose another one from this list and make it into a compound subject in a sentence?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have everybody else type an example in the chat. You can choose any of these to help you write a sentence with a compound subject.
The chat is closed.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Two
sorry.
fruits you eat.
I just opened it.
Two fruits you eat. 8 2 players on a team.
So for the two fruits you eat, you could say something like apples and blueberries are delicious. So that's your compound subject.
I thought it would be okay if I did like 2 fruits you eat. 8 2 players on a team.
Okay, let's make it into a compound subject. So blueberries and apples, 8 2 players on the team. Jake and Jane keep a cat and dog. 2 players on my soccer team are very competitive. BLT and pizza are my favorite foods for lunch. Okay, very good. Everyone see Rihanna's as a good example of a compound subject, and then Krish's as a compound subject. Devansh's, yours is an excellent sentence, but it doesn't have 2 separate subjects. Can you try thinking of 2 names of like soccer players? Of maybe the 2 people on your team that are competitive? So we could say like Devansh and Kshitij are very competitive at soccer. Dogs and cats have been at war since, I agree with that one. Since 2500s BC, it does seem like it's been forever. Okay, let me call on a couple more people to also do it the way that it's meant to be. Black Beauty and Jerry are competitive. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, Nethra, could you tell me 2 toys you play with?
Just completing my sentence.
Okay. What, Nethra? Oh, goodness. Your grandparents are wrestling? Oh, I was not expecting that.
Okay. Let's see.
Or tell me 2 animals in a zoo.
2 animals in a zoo. Although I like all the animals, I like the tiger and the peacock the best.
Tiger and peacock. Now, we'll take those subjects and Saisanov, give us a sentence about a tiger and a peacock. We'll finish up with this.
I saw a peacock and a tiger, but I like the tiger more.
Can we make the tiger and peacock the subject? Like the tiger and the peacock. What did they do?
Danced.
Rustled.
Wrestled again. I think I know who's going to win that wrestling match. The tiger and the peacock wrestled. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's finish up with one sentence to review how to analyze a sentence with compound subjects. I'm going to close off the chat now. And I would love for Ahana, can you unmute yourself, sweetie?
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you tell us the parts of speech for all of the words in the sentence? Let's start off with prepositional phrases. Do you see any prepositional phrases?
On
Or 2.
Monday.
Perfect. On Monday. What else, Ahana? There's one more.
At the food shelter.
Perfect. At the food shelter. At is your preposition. Shelter is the object of the preposition.
Mm-hmm.
Food and the describe the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
What about on Monday?
On Monday, I think Monday is our object.
Object of the preposition.
Position. And then on is our preposition.
Excellent. And I'll have Arjun finish up the rest of the words in the sentence. Thank you, Ahana. Arjun, what about the rest of the sentence?
Mom is the subject, and I is the subject. Will is the helping verb. Be is the helping verb. Working is the predicate verb. And is the conjunction.
Good. And finally, what do we do to the prepositional phrases?
The prepositional phrases, they're adverbs and then we put prep under.
Good. Point them to your predicate verb and write adverb prep. Okay, there's a little head start on your work for today. You'll finish up this page for homework. Thank you, Arjun. Okay, boys and girls, at this time, take out your orthography notebooks. We're going to write our words from today's lesson. And I also want you to say our new poem together as we take out our things. The Hayloft by Robert Louis Stevenson. Through all the pleasant meadowside, the grass grew shoulder high, till the shining sides went far and wide, and cut it down to dry. Those green and sweetly smelling crops, they led the wagons home, and they piled them up here in mountain tops for mountaineers to roam. Here is Mount Clear, Mount Rusty Nail, Mount Eagle, and Mount High. The mice that in these mountains dwell no happier are than I. Oh, what a joy to clamber there! Oh, what a place for play! The sweet, the dim, the dusty air, the happy hills of hay. The Hayloft by Robert Louis Stevenson. Who can say that whole poem for me? Darshika?
Hayloft by Robert Louis Stevenson. To all the pleasant meadowside, the Glasgow shoulder high, till the shining siders went fallen white and cut it down to dry. Those green, sweetly smelling crops led the wagons home. They piled them there in the mountain tops for mountaineers to roam. Here is Mountain Clear, Mount Rusty Nail, Mountain Eagle, and Mountain High. The mice these mountains well, no happier than I. Oh, what the joy to clamber there! Oh, what a place to play! With the sweet, the dim, and the dusty air, the happy hills of hay. Hayloft by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Well done, Darshika. Great expression in your voice. Love that. Okay, I'll hear from one more person, but before we get to that, let's write our words. Word 1 is tortoise. We think to spell tortoise. Word 2, parliament. Parliament. Word 3 is congress. And word 4, restaurant. Yes, Saisanov?
May I say the poem?
Okay, can you say it as you write?
Okay. The Hayloft by Robert Louis Stevenson. Through all the pleasant meadowside, the grass grew shoulder high, till the shining sides went far and wide, and cut it down to dry. Those green and sweetly smelling crops, they led the wagons home, and they piled them here in the mountain tops for mountaineers to roam. Here is Mount Clear, Mount Rusty Nail, Mount Eagle, and Mount High. The mice that these mountains dwell, no happier than I. Oh, what joy to clamber there! Oh, what a place for play! What too sweet in the dim, the dusty air, the happy hills of hay. The Hayloft by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Great job, Saisanov. Okay, after you're done writing these words, we're going to sort in just one spot. I'd like us to put Parliament and Congress as synonyms on page 12. They're not complete synonyms, but they're close to being synonyms. It's basically like one being the British version and one being the American version. So let's write Congress and Parliament. Parliament.
What page is
That's
it?
on page 12. Sorry about that, boys and girls. I think the storm is maybe the reason why the connection's bad at my house. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, boys and girls, thank you. So we should be about done with writing on page 12. Thumbs up if you did that already.
Raining cats and dogs.
Yes, it is. I can hear it. Is it crazy at your house? And that's a good idiom, Trish.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Gordon,
I don't know what that really means.
Mrs. Gordon, write a clear view. 1 is representation and 2 is normal.
I'm trying to remove it. I thought by presenting and then stopping the, oh, now it removed it. Okay, should be fine now. Okay, boys and girls, we're going to write one new card for our roots today. This week, we're going to continue with the kaput words. Who remembers what kaput means? Tricia, do you remember?
Yeah, it means head.
That's right. And the phrase kaput, do you remember what that means, Tricia?
Off with his or her head.
You got it. Off with his head or off with her head. I guess they were mainly offing the heads of the boys because they say off with his head, not her head. So kaput also means like, oh, they're done for. We also had the words capitulate, which is to put headings on something, and recapitulate, which basically means put headings again. Saisonov, were you going to say that?
Yes.
Okay. So today we're going to do this word capital, and I'm going to switch it up. Tricia, please mute yourself. Thank you. I'm going to switch it up slightly from the definition that we have. So capital is our new word, capital. The capital, you might think of like the head of the state or country. It also has to do with money, and that's what we're actually mainly going to be talking about with this one. Yes, Tysonov?
I also knew that.
Oh, good job. So like capital gains, and we're going to hear tomorrow about capitalism, which has to do with money. Money for like entrepreneurs to start something. I'm going to switch up that top part though, and at the beginning I want you to write head of a state or country. Head of a state or country, semicolon, head, chief, or foundation money. So like the capital of a state is the head of that state. But it also has to do with the head, chief, or foundation money. That's how we get it too. Basically like the money to start something. Yes, Arima?
When like kaput is like made into an English word, like is the like part it's in like mainly meaning like head?
Yes, all of the meaning has to do with head, but head could mean not just like literal head, it could be like the top of something. So basically, capital money is the money that's needed to produce something. But we're going to get into that more later. After you're done with that, we're going to put our cards away. We'll do a little bit more Thursday and Friday. So we're going to keep going with these. But at this time, it is math time. For math today, we are going to be starting a brand new unit on fractions. We're going to start some fractions. Now, I have listed as a homework assignment for today to basically make your own manipulatives. I've got a class set of these nice little fraction circles, which help you to really be able to see fractions and compare. Like you can see that this orange 1/3 is bigger than the yellow 1/4. So as your assignment for today on Bright Thinker, you actually have something to either print off or make. How many of you have done that so far? Has anybody already done that? If so, can you take it out to show me? Because we're going to use that throughout our unit. Yes, Krish?
Actually, we actually find the greatest and leastest by this. It's actually kind of easy. It's like when you have 1/4, if you have 1/2 and you have about 1/3, with like 1/2, there's only one more, but for 1/3, so the greatest is 1/2 because there are less parts to like make a whole.
That's exactly right. Nethra, thank you so much for holding that up to show us. Can everyone see Nethra's screen? Now, I know many of you are going to be able to do our fraction unit very well without manipulatives, but I think that for many of you, it would be good to print it off and have your own manipulatives. So what you're going to do is cut out those little strips, Nethra, and put them in a little Ziploc baggie.
Do you mean like cut on this line? Or cut the whole thing?
So you would have your little one whole as one big bar, and then your little 1/2 pieces should be 2 half pieces. The 1/3, it's going to be 3 little pieces.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, but make sure that they're all the same color for like fractions, which we're going to get into. Okay? Adarsh. Oh my goodness, Adarsh. You missed a pretty good chunk of class, bud, but we are recording it so you can watch it on your own later. You doing okay? Uh-oh, and he left the meeting. Okay, so let me put my fractions away for now. Thank you so much for showing that, Nethra.
You're welcome.
Okay, boys and girls, how do you all feel about fractions at this point? Give me a thumbs up if you feel like you remember quite a bit from 1st and 2nd grade. Maybe you had some questions on the test yesterday that you felt good about. I bet you had quite a few fraction questions on the test. Hopefully, if there was anything that you were not sure about, after this unit, you'll feel much better about those fractions. Okay. For class today, for math, we are going to be looking at our math textbook, and you are going to need your whiteboard and marker. That is all. We're not going to use our notebook today. Now, if you don't have a whiteboard, then you can use a notebook. But this is just a little introductory lesson. So we're going to basically review what you should have learned in 2nd grade. Yes, Krish?
I like this picture what you're showing us.
You like it?
Yeah. Is it like you have to find how much ones and then you have to like write the fraction or something?
Oh, thanks for asking about it. Okay. So at the beginning of this unit, our little picture here is a quilt. Now, underneath, you can't see this, the little boy is asking, what fractions of the squares on the quilt has a heart on it? Does anybody know how we would figure that out? The fraction of squares with a heart. Devansh?
So first, could you move the book a little up? Because I can't see all of the squares. Miss Gardner, can you hear me?
I can, but that's as much as I can do to fit all of them.
Oh, okay. So first you would count, I think there's like 7 boxes on the top line.
Oh, very good point. We've got to count the number of boxes, right? Now I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 across.
Okay, then 9, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's 7 on that. So then you would do 9 times 7, which is 63.
Very good. So that means there are 63 squares altogether, right?
And then you would count how many of the boxes have hearts in them. Then you would write how many hearts there are on top at the numerator.
That's right. It's going to be the fraction of the whole. Count them up with me. Let's find the hearts. I see 1 in the first row. You see another in the second row? 2. 3. Where else do you see some hearts? 4, right? 5. 6. 7. 8. Oh, did I count this one? 9. I see 9. Do you guys see 9? Now, what is that as a fraction? What is that as a fraction? If you know, write it on your board. Oh, well done, Arima. Great use of reducing too, which we're not going to get into quite yet, but we will in this unit. 9/63. Because there are 63 total squares and 9 of them had a heart. Okay, so if that was confusing to you, it's okay. We are going to be focusing on that in our unit over the next few weeks. Now let's begin with a little review of things that you probably learned in 2nd grade. First, just understanding fractions. A fraction names equal parts of a whole. Can you say equal parts of a whole? Equal parts of a whole. So 1 whole is the same as 2 halves here. In this case, 1 whole is 3/3. Now this looks quite a bit like a bar model probably to you. Bar models should really help you to understand fractions better because we, with multiplication and division, are basically already starting fractions with those multiplication and division bar models. Okay, now it says here identifying unit fractions and non-unit fractions. Could I have someone read through this section here? Adarsh, since you just joined us, I'd like you to help out with this part. Can you read from here?
Where?
A unit fraction.
I don't see it. Wait, let me just pin your screen.
Miss
I
Jenny,
think you're only showing the picture.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
a picture to me.
Yeah, all we can see is like the stuff.
Boys and girls, I've double checked and it looks like you should be able to see a unit fraction names. Thumbs up if you can see that. None of you can. What's going on here? Okay, just a moment. Maybe I hit a button. Can you see this?
No, it's still showing the thing.
The quilt, you mean?
No, like the picture.
Like your profile, Miss Gardner.
Oh, it's showing my picture. Okay, just a second.
For me, it's showing the quilt.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
boys and
it's
girls,
showing the
please
quilt
keep
thing.
yourselves muted. Thank you
Oh,
for
now
helping
it's
out with
showing
that.
the thing.
No, boys and girls,
Yeah, now
keep
it's
yourselves
showing,
muted.
Now it's showing.
Can you all, okay, sorry, I must have hit a button on my document camera. Can you see where it says a unit fraction names?
Yeah.
Okay, Adarsh, please read that for us.
A unit fraction names one of the equal parts of a whole. One third is a unit fraction.
Good. So that's a unit fraction because it's just one part. Now, what does it say a non-unit fraction is?
A non-unit fraction names more than one equal part of a whole. 3
Good.
fifths is a non-unit fraction.
Thank you so much. Very good. So anytime there's more than one part, we call that a non-unit fraction. Now down here it says making one whole with unit fractions. When you add up two fractions, as we're going to see in just a little bit, we add just the numerator or the number on top. And in this case, 2 halves make one whole. So whatever that denominator is at the bottom, 2, in this case, it takes that many parts to be one whole. So since there's a 2 on the bottom, it takes 2 parts to be one whole. Thumbs up if that part makes sense. Right? Okay. Now, comparing and ordering unit fractions. This should also be review. We're going to get into in this unit even more though, how to compare different fractions. In this case, we have 1/2, 1/3, and 1/4. This is 1/2 because it's 1 out of 2 parts. This is 1/3 because it's 1 out of 3 parts. This is 1/4 because it's 1 out of 4 parts. Now 1/2 is greater than 1/3. You can visually see that, right? You can visually see that there's more. This yellow box is larger than the 1/3 box. And when the numerator is the same, you basically can always tell that the smaller the denominator, the bigger the fraction is. Because 1/2 is not dividing by many groups, right? Whereas 1/3, here's thirds, you're dividing into 3 groups. So each one group is smaller. And it keeps getting smaller and smaller. 1/4 is even smaller. 1/5 is even smaller. So the bigger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. So if the numerator is the same, just stick with the philosophy of the bigger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. So it's the opposite of what you would think, right? Bigger number, smaller fraction. For the denominator, specifically talking about for the denominator. So in greatest to least order, it's 1/2, 1/3, 1/4. Okay, thumbs up if that part makes sense. So when the numerator is the same, the rule is the greater the denominator, the smaller the fraction. We'll put that into practice very soon, but let's move on to like fractions. Now, like fractions are fractions whose wholes are divided into the same number of parts. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3 are all what we call like fractions. Can you all say like fractions? Meaning they're similar. You can compare them easily. You can also add and subtract them easily because the denominator is the same. All of them have equal groups, right? Right. Now, with those like fractions, we can add and subtract easily. We can add 1/3 plus 2/3 to equal 3/3. To do that, all we add is the numerator, the number on top. Do you all remember that from 2nd grade? Adding fractions that are like, meaning the denominator is the same, is just as simple as adding the numbers on top. That's all you do. Same with subtraction, just subtract the numbers on top. Okay, let's put this into practice. Actually, I'm gonna skip over this. I think that you guys, well, we'll go ahead and do this actually. What would we call this fraction? We would match it up to a unit fraction, meaning as a number, and then the fractional names, how we read it. Ahana, what is this fraction? Is it
1/3.
1/3?
Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about
first one,
number
P.
1? Because
The first one, the P.
So
If you know it, boys and girls, you can write it on your whiteboard. You got it. 1/3. How do you know it's 1/3?
So one of the boxes are shaded, and the whole entire total number is 3. And 3 is basically the denominator because 3 is the total number.
Well said, Ahana. 3 is the total number, and 1 is our numerator because it's only one box that's shaded. So that means this one is 1/4 because it's 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes that is shaded. Can you all show me something like this or a different shape that shows the fraction 1/3? It can be a rectangle or it could be a circle, but make sure that they are 3 equal groups with 1 shaded. Show me 1/3 on your whiteboard. Show me a shape like 1/3. Good job. Chris just showed me a circle divided into 3 groups. Excellent job, Drishya. You could do a rectangle just like this if you want. Great job, Adarsh. That shows 1/3. Arjun as well. Arima. Very good. Okay, let's move on to comparing fractions. Okay, have your whiteboard handy for this as well. Here are some pictures to help you. 1/4, 1/3, 1/2. Let's compare 1/4 and 1/2. And I want you to use the less than and greater than symbols to compare. 1/4, 1/2. Is it greater than or less than 1/2? Compare those two fractions for me, please. But remember, the larger the denominator is, the smaller the fraction is when we have the same numerator. So, Saisanov, which one's greater?
1/2 because if it was 1/4, it would be 4 parts, and if it was 1/2, you'd have 2 parts. So if the bigger the denominator is, the lesser the fraction is.
Very good. Okay, let's now compare, same way, 1/2 and 1/3. So show me with a greater than or less than symbol, which one's bigger? Krish?
1/2, and also in second grade we learned this crocodile thing. It's like the crocodile eats the bigger pieces.
Oh yeah, I've taught that way before too. Or like a little Pac-Man is the way I learned it when I was little. And it wants to eat the bigger number. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Wants to eat the biggest one because it's hungry. So the big side always points to the greater number. That's a great way of remembering that the big side points to the bigger number because it's hungry. Okay. Now, let me give you one that's a little bit harder, not from our book. What if it was something like 3/12 and 3/8? Number is the same at the top. The numerator is the same. The denominator is different though. So which one's bigger? Write it on your board. Now these are non-unit fractions, but it's the same rule that if the numerator is the same, you know that the smaller denominator is just going to be the bigger fraction. Great job. 3/8 is bigger. Because even though we have new numerators, 3, it's still the same rule here that the smaller denominator is the one that's going to be bigger. Arima?
If we reduced, wouldn't 3/8 be smaller?
No, 3/8 is still bigger than if we were to say 1/4, which is the smallest of this can be. It's still bigger because 3/8, if it was in fourths, would be a little bit bigger than 1/4.
Yeah, because 1/4 would be 2/8.
Yeah. So that will never change just because of the way you reduce it. It should always still be the same value no matter what. Okay, time for, let's do this part, ordering them from greatest to least. Can you put 1/4, 1/3, and 1/2 in order of greatest to least? Let's write the biggest one, comma, then the middle one, and then the smallest one. But start with the greatest. Excellent job, everybody. Shatish, you need to make sure you're holding up your answers every time, okay?
Oh, I thought I had to, I thought you had to raise your hand, yeah.
Oh, well, you can share your answer, but I want everybody to be writing on their whiteboards for each of these questions. Okay, Shatish, what is the order?
First it's 1/2, first it's 1/2, then it's 1/3, and it's 1/4.
Perfect. Okay, let's move on to number 6 now. We're going to find the like fractions. Who can tell me what like fractions are? We just talked about them. Krish?
Fractions that have the same denominator.
Very good. Fractions that have the same denominator. So for number 6, there are 3 fractions that are like fractions. Can you write them down? Find the 3 fractions that are like. Same denominator. Great job, Arima. Hold yours up close to the camera when you're done. Great job, Darshika. It's all the thirds. Good job. 2/3, 1/3, 3/3. Excellent work. Now, let's skip number 7. I think that one's pretty easy, but good job finding the fourths. It would be 2/4, 1/4, and 3/4. Let's move down to this one though. Can you complete the model by just writing what is this fraction and add it to this fraction and then come up with the sum? Number 8. We'll get to the other one next. And it says add at the top, but for that one, you'll actually subtract. But let's cover that up for now. Just focus on this. Great job, Arima. Yes, Nethra? Great job, Darshika and Rihanna.
What do we have to do again?
I want you to complete the model. Think through what are these two fractions, and then you'll add them up. Come on, Adarsh. What are these two fractions?
It's 2/4.
Well, what is this one fraction first?
1/2.
So it's 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 parts
Yeah.
for the whole bar.
1/3.
So it's out of the whole bar. How many parts are there altogether? 1, 2, 3, 4.
1/4.
So this is 1/4. And what is this? Just this one part. So both of them have 4 parts altogether, right?
Yeah.
So both of them are going to have a denominator of 4. Now this is just one part, so it's 1/4. This is also just one part. So what are we going to write for its numerator?
2.
Well, together they're 2, but on its own, it's just another 1. So basically, this is 1/4 of the total. This is 1/4 of the total. Now, Adarsh, can you help add them? 1/4 plus 1/4. What are these going to be together?
2/4.
Good. We add those numbers at the top, and it becomes 2/4. And who can tell me what that is if we reduce it? I know some of you know how to reduce it. Finding equivalent fractions. Krish?
1/2.
Good. Same as 1/2.
If it's just divided by 2.
Okay, let's do one more of those, and that's where we're going to end the class. Next one is a subtraction. So you're going to find all of this together, 3 parts of a total of 4. Let me just give that one to you. Actually, who can tell me what goes on top here? All 3 of these are what fraction, Shatij?
3/4.
Perfect. So 3/4. And from that, we're going to subtract just this part. What is that fraction? You see the bracket around 2 of them? Saisanov?
2/4.
Good. Now 3/4 minus 2/4 equals what? What is this going to be? That's the question mark. Brianna?
3/4 minus 2 is 1/4.
Perfect. 1/4. Just like when adding, only add the numerators and the denominator stays the same. It's the same when subtracting like fractions. We subtract 3 minus 2 equals 1. The denominator stays the same all the way across. Okay. Thumbs up if this is making sense so far. So that was an overview. That should have been stuff that you learned in 2nd grade. Maybe you've forgotten some of it, but give me a thumbs up if you're feeling good about all the things we just did. That was review of fractions, fraction review. Now, we in 3rd grade are going to work on bigger fractions, getting into 5th, 6th, all the way up to 12ths. And since you already know your multiplication and division tables up to 12, that should be pretty easy. You're actually going to use your multiplication and division facts to help you with fractions up to 12ths. You're also going to start comparing fractions. For example, like we were talking about, that 1/2 is actually the same as 2/4. 1/2 and 2/4 are what we call equivalent fractions because they have the same value. Basically, they're the same size. Thumbs up if you already know a little about equivalent fractions. Okay, now we're going to use this to be able to add and subtract unlike fractions. So if there's a fraction that doesn't have the same denominator, we can change it to something of the same denominator so that we can add and subtract. That's what we're going to get into in this unit. You guys feeling ready? Ready for fractions? Okay, so your homework is just to make some fraction strips. Now, even if you're a fraction master, I still want you to have some manipulatives to work with in this unit. So again, Nethra had that printed off paper. It's already colored for her. If you don't have a color printer, you can print it off and color it and then just cut it and put all of your pieces into a little baggie. Okay, and that is a Bright Thinker assignment for today, to make those fraction strips. If you don't have a printer at all, you can still make some. Just get some notebook paper and measure it out with a ruler if you can so that they're all equal. But you can just make your own fraction strips that way. Netra, can you hold yours up again so everybody can see what those fraction strips look like? That's going to be a really good thing for you guys to use throughout the unit. Okay. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. At this point, I'll have just my Wednesday reading group stay with me. Monday and Tuesday reading groups didn't have anything this week, so I'll see you next week.
Bye, Miss Gardner.
Bye, Miss Gardner.
Bye, Miss Gardner.
Bye.
Miss Gardner, can't you just say Heidi group?
I just said Wednesday group. That's fine.
Miss Gardner.
Please say Heidi group.
Miss Gardner, that's kind of not fair. The Tuesday group doesn't get anything to read.
Oh, I know. Life's not fair sometimes.
And Monday group too.
The Monday
Life's not
group
fair
does it on
sometimes.
Tuesday.
Actually, Monday group has it tomorrow, don't they?
Yeah.
Monday group, yeah, they do meet twice a week, so they're fine. That
Wait,
one's
they
fair.
do? They
Monday group
twice a week?
escapes.
I
Yep,
didn't
they
know
meet
that.
twice a week.
No, that's not fair.
Now, bye-bye.
Life's not fair sometimes, right?
Bye, Miss Gardner.
She actually left.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Miss Gardner, I think you do the trick all tell it at one time, then you don't know who's telling goodbye. Like the whole